The ECB has fired its bazooka and financial markets have got the message. But does this mark the beginning of the end of the Eurozone crisis? For his thoughts, I'm joined here at the Ambrosetti Forum in Como, Italy, by Roubini, Professor of Economics at New York University. Nouriel, good to see you again. Well, is this the game changer that we've all been waiting for?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, they've not yet fired the bazooka. They've said they have a big bazooka, and they've sort of shown they have one. And using it is going to imply countries applying for the MOU and triggering the support. And in those negotiations, by the way, the ECB has said we want strict conditionality. It's not going to be light. So there may be disagreement between Spain and IMF, ECB and EU on what's necessary. I think it buys you time to do other things. You cannot resolve the Eurozone crisis only with money. And the ECB has been clear. You need progress on the structural, on economic, on the fiscal union, a banking union, economic union, on political integration. And all those challenges are still ahead of us. So it helps to buy time. It's not a game changer.
How much time does it help by?
I would say a few months, because the Eurozone has to decide by year-end whether they can agree on elements of a minimal banking union. There will be a proposal about a fiscal union, maybe partial debt mutualization in exchange for veto power on the budget. Then you need some political integration, because you are giving away power from national authorities to the center, so for democratic legitimacy implies at least a plan for doing that. So the next 6 months are going to be critical to see whether Europe is moving in the direction of more union and integration, because the alternative is going to be disunion, disintegration, fragmentation, balkanization, and eventually breakup.
You mentioned conditionality, and it's going to be tight and severe. Is Spain or Italy in a position to accept more conditionality, i.e. more austerity? Because economically and politically that seems very difficult.
Well, I think of the two I would separate them. Spain is more likely to need the help of the ECB and the EFSF. Italy, running a primary surplus by continuing the current policy, might be able to avoid the program, even if the aura of the ECB potential action is already reducing spreads on the short and the long end. What's going to be the nature of that conditionality is not clear. I don't think they're going to impose on Spain more fiscal austerity, because given the deepening recession, they already loosened their fiscal target for this year from 5.3 to 6.3% of GDP deficit. Doing more of it is going to be actually damaging. I think it's going to be more like which structural reform, which other reforms they're going to support the increase in productivity growth. But it's clear that within the ECB there are people, not just the Bundesbank, but at least another dozen among the core Eurozone members, central banks, that are worried about the open-ended new mandate, about the moral hazard risk, about being stuck with lots of Spanish debt, and then Spain falling off the cliff. And therefore they're going to expect, in exchange for the support of this program, that the conditionality is going to be strict and effective, the way Draghi put it.
You mentioned the Bundesbank. You've been in Germany this week talking to policymakers. How isolated is the Bundesbank, and where does Germany fit in this new programme going forward?
Well, the Bundesbank was the only one who technically voted against it, but I would say within the governing council of the ECB there are at least 5 or 6 other members that are skeptical. They voted for the program, but they want to have strict conditionality and clear rules on when the ECB would stop and exit if things go wrong in Spain or Italy. So the Bundesbank has been able to create at least a mini coalition pushing for conditionality being strict and for clear rules about exit. Secondly, while the German government has sided with Draghi and the ECB and against the Bundesbank, there is actually literally a rift, and Weidmann even threatened to resign. Within the German political system, there are many parts that are sympathetic to the Bundesbank view. The CSU,
Weidmann might actually quit?
I don't know. I think that he was upset that he was not supported by his own government. But within Germany, part of the press, part of the academic, part of the political system, the median voter may be closer to the views of the Bundesbank. So in that sense, the Bundesbank is not fully isolated, neither within Germany nor within the governing council of the ECB.
You've famously, or you're known for your view that Greece perhaps should leave the Eurozone. It's the best of a bad set of options. But surely once one country leaves, once one brick is taken out of the wall, the edifice comes crumbling down?
Not necessarily. If a year from now Italy and Spain were to successfully be ring-fenced, bailed out and be out of the woods, and that's a big if, then I think that you could have an orderly exit of Greece that doesn't lead to severe contagion for Spain, Italy, or anybody else. And then, like in the case of the debt restructuring of Greece, you say this is a unique and exceptional case, as long as Italy and Spain are safe. Of course, with Italy and Spain still fragile, a Greece exit will be very damaging, and that's why I think the Troika, in spite of all, they cannot pull the plug for the time being on Greece. So at the end, the decision is going to be more political. I would say on economics, Greece should exit, but if you believe that it's going to destabilize the Balkans or otherwise, maybe then Germany decides otherwise, but then they have to put the money to bail out Greece unconditionally.
Okay, just a couple of quick questions. The Fed next week, do you expect more easing from the Fed?
I expect QE3 to occur. I don't know if it's going to happen next week. It's possible that if the employment report coming out on Friday is okay, the Fed says the numbers are weak, and the Jackson Hole speech essentially said it looks like we need to do QE3, then the only thing is the timing. If they don't decide next week, they have to wait until December, because the next meeting of the FOMC is too close to the election. So I think that probably they're going to wait until December, because the data are mixed, they're weak, but not to the point in which immediate action of the Fed is going to be necessary.
Okay, and final question, a lot of interest in your views on gold. Is it still in a bubble, given that central banks are pumping more money, more stimulus into these markets?
My view is that people should be just market weighting gold, because even if there is more printing of money, there's no inflation in advanced economies, because you have a slack in goods and labor markets, weak economic growth. So that reason to hold gold, worries about inflation, is not real. The other situation is gold could rise if you have another global financial meltdown, but those tail risks are also limited, and actually when turmoil does occur, sometimes gold prices fall sharply because you have a credit crunch and people sell the winners, and many positions in gold are highly leveraged. So gold has been very volatile. It went up all the way to 1900 September of last year, but then went down to 1500 and has been moving in the range between 15 and 1600. So to me, it's a speculative investment. It's gone up so much that significant further increases are unlikely. Everybody should have it market weight in their portfolio. I would not recommend an overweight in gold.
Okay, Mr. Roubini, thank you very much. That was Roubini, Professor of Economics at NYU, talking to Reuters at the Ambrosetti Forum in Chernobyl, Italy. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.